Imagine a world where the guardians of our health, the very people entrusted with keeping us safe, suddenly find themselves at the center of a real-life thriller. It sounds like the plot of a Hollywood blockbuster, but this is no work of fiction. This is the story of the CDC Records Mystery, a tale of vanished data, whispered cover-ups, and a growing sense of unease among those who believe something doesn't quite add up. Our story begins deep within the hallowed halls of the Centers for Disease Control and Prevention, where a routine request for information spiraled into a full-blown enigma. When records pertaining to vaccine safety, records overseen by a highly respected CDC scientist, disappeared into thin air, alarm bells began to ring. The question on everyone's mind: were these records misplaced, accidentally deleted, or could something more calculated, more unsettling be at play? The missing records, like puzzle pieces scattered in the wind, have left a void of information and a breeding ground for speculation. The public, rightfully demanding transparency and accountability, is left grappling with more questions than answers. What do these missing records reveal? What secrets do they hold? And most importantly, why were they seemingly erased from existence? This isn't just a story about missing files, it's about public trust, scientific integrity, and the fundamental right to access information that directly impacts our lives. It's a story that strikes at the heart of our collective well-being, raising concerns about transparency within our most trusted health institutions. Buckle up, dear reader, as we embark on a journey to uncover the truth behind the CDC Records Mystery, a mystery that has captivated the nation and left us questioning everything we thought we knew. At the heart of this enigmatic tale stands Dr. Tom Shimabukuro, a distinguished figure in the world of public health and the man at the helm of the CDC's Immunization Safety Office. With a career spanning decades, Dr. Shimabukuro has long been regarded as a leading voice in vaccine safety, his name synonymous with rigorous research and unwavering dedication to public health. As the director of the Immunization Safety Office, Dr. Shimabukuro carries the weight of a nation's health on his shoulders. His team is responsible for meticulously tracking vaccine data, monitoring for any signs of adverse effects, and ensuring that the vaccines administered to millions of Americans meet the highest safety standards. It's a role that demands unwavering precision, meticulous attention to detail, and an unyielding commitment to the well-being of the public. Dr. Shimabukuro's credentials are impeccable. With a medical degree from the prestigious New York University and training at the world-renowned Johns Hopkins Hospital, he possesses a wealth of knowledge and expertise. His work has been published in numerous medical journals, his research cited by colleagues around the globe. He is, by all accounts, a giant in his field, a beacon of knowledge and experience. Yet today, Dr. Shimabukuro finds himself at the epicenter of a mystery that has cast a long shadow over his distinguished career. The disappearance of records from his office, records containing critical data on vaccine safety, has sent shockwaves through the medical community and beyond. How could this happen under the watch of someone so meticulous, so dedicated to the very principles of safety and transparency? As we delve deeper into the CDC Records Mystery, we'll examine Dr. Shimabukuro's role, his background, and the events that led to this unprecedented situation. Dr. Tom Shimabukuro's journey to the heart of the CDC, where he would become a central figure in one of the most perplexing mysteries in the agency's history, began long before the world had ever heard of COVID-19. His was a career forged in the fires of scientific inquiry, a relentless pursuit of knowledge that led him from the bustling lecture halls of New York University to the hallowed research labs of Johns Hopkins Hospital. Even in his early years as a medical student, Shimabukuro possessed an insatiable curiosity and a drive to unravel the complexities of human health. His professors recognized his sharp intellect, his ability to synthesize vast amounts of information and distill it into clear, concise insights. He wasn't content with simply memorizing textbooks. He yearned to understand the mechanisms, the intricate interplay of factors that determined our well-being. It was during his residency at Johns Hopkins, a breeding ground for some of the world's leading medical minds, that Shimabukuro's passion for public health began to blossom. He witnessed firsthand the devastating impact of preventable diseases, the toll they took on individuals, families, and entire communities, It was there, amidst the urgency of the emergency room and the quiet determination of the research labs, that he realized his calling to dedicate his life to safeguarding the health of others. Shimabukuro's dedication and expertise did not go unnoticed. His work on infectious diseases, particularly his research on vaccine efficacy and safety, garnered attention within the medical community. He was invited to present his findings at conferences, his research cited in prestigious medical journals. His star was on the rise, and it wouldn't be long before he received an offer that would shape the course of his career, an offer to join the ranks of the Centers for Disease Control and Prevention. The CDC, a sprawling complex of scientific minds and cutting-edge research, welcomed Dr. Shimabukuro with open arms. Here, in the heart of the nation's public health infrastructure, he found himself surrounded by like-minded individuals, brilliant minds driven by a shared mission, to protect the health of the American people. It was within these walls that Shimabukuro would rise through the ranks, eventually assuming the mantle of Director of the Immunization Safety Office, a position of immense responsibility and national significance. As director, Shimabukuro was entrusted with a task of paramount importance, overseeing the safety of vaccines administered to millions of Americans. His team, a dedicated group of scientists and researchers, worked tirelessly to monitor vaccine data, meticulously tracking any adverse effects and ensuring that every vaccine met the most stringent safety standards. It was a role that demanded unwavering attention to detail, an unyielding commitment to scientific rigor, and an unwavering dedication to the well-being of the public. Dr. Shimabukuro's responsibilities extended far beyond the walls of the CDC. He became a familiar face at international conferences, sharing his expertise on vaccine safety with colleagues from around the globe. He was a sought-after speaker, his presentations characterized by a calm demeanor, a deep understanding of complex scientific data, and an unwavering commitment to transparency. His words carried weight, his research shaping policies and influencing vaccination strategies worldwide. Shimabukuro's commitment to transparency extended beyond the scientific community. He understood the importance of communicating complex scientific information to the public in a clear, concise, and accessible manner. He believed that informed consent was paramount, that every individual had the right to understand the risks and benefits of vaccination before making an informed decision about their own health. Section 3. A legacy clouded in mystery. The disappearance of the records. For years, Dr. Tom Shimabukuro's name was synonymous with scientific rigor, unwavering integrity, and an unyielding commitment to public health. He was a respected figure in the medical community, his work shaping vaccine policies and influencing vaccination strategies worldwide. But then, almost overnight, a shadow of doubt was cast over his distinguished career. A mystery that would challenge everything people thought they knew about the man and the institution he represented. It began with a seemingly routine request for information, a request that would spiral into a full-blown enigma, leaving a trail of unanswered questions and a growing sense of unease. When records pertaining to vaccine safety, records under Dr. Shimabukuro's purview, vanished without a trace, alarm bells began to ring, their echoes reverberating far beyond the walls of the CDC. The question on everyone's mind, where were the records and why had they disappeared? The disappearance of the records sent shockwaves through the medical community and beyond. How could such a thing happen, especially under the watch of someone as meticulous and dedicated to transparency as Dr. Shimabukuro? Speculation ran rampant, fueled by the void of information and a growing distrust in institutions already grappling with the weight of a global pandemic. The missing records, like puzzle pieces scattered in the wind, held the potential to unravel a mystery that struck at the heart of public trust, scientific integrity, and the very foundation of our healthcare system. The search for answers had begun, a search that would lead investigators down a winding path, uncovering more questions than answers, and leaving a legacy forever altered by the weight of the unknown. Section 1. A routine request ignites a firestorm, the subpoena that shook the CDC. The year was 2025. The world was still grappling with the aftershocks of the COVID-19 pandemic, a pandemic that had tested the very fabric of our societies and left an enduring legacy of uncertainty and distrust. It was against this backdrop of heightened scrutiny and simmering skepticism that the CDC Records Mystery would unfold, its origins traced back to a seemingly routine request for information. Enter Senator Ron Johnson, a man known for his unwavering pursuit of transparency and his penchant for challenging the status quo. Armed with a growing number of constituent concerns about potential vaccine side effects, concerns amplified by the echo chambers of social media, Senator Johnson set his sights on the CDC, demanding access to the very data that underpinned the nation's vaccination strategies. On a crisp January morning, the seemingly impenetrable walls of the CDC were met with an unexpected visitor, a subpoena, bearing Senator Johnson's signature, demanding access to all records pertaining to COVID-19 vaccine safety. The subpoena, a legal instrument demanding the production of evidence, sent shockwaves through the agency, its arrival signaling a storm that threatened to shake the CDC to its core. The subpoena was not a request, it was a demand, a legal order that the CDC could not ignore. It was a call for transparency, a challenge to the agency's carefully constructed walls of secrecy. The clock was ticking, and the CDC found itself caught in the glare of a spotlight, the nation watching with bated breath as the agency scrambled to respond to Senator Johnson's audacious demand. Section 2. The walls close in. The Department of Health and Human Services stumbles. The CDC, caught off guard by the senator's subpoena and the public scrutiny it brought, found itself entangled in a bureaucratic web, its fate now intertwined with that of its parent organization, the Department of Health and Human Services. The HHS, tasked with overseeing the vast and complex network of the nation's health agencies, was now responsible for navigating the treacherous waters of the CDC Records Mystery. As the HHS embarked on the daunting task of fulfilling the senator's subpoena, a sense of unease began to permeate the corridors of power. The records, once thought to be easily accessible, seemed to have vanished into thin air, their absence leaving a void of information and a breeding ground for suspicion. Days turned into weeks, and the HHS, despite its vast resources and bureaucratic might, seemed no closer to locating the missing records. The agency, accustomed to dictating the terms of engagement, now found itself on the defensive, its credibility hanging precariously in the balance. The HHS's initial attempts to explain the missing records as a simple oversight, a clerical error in the digital age, were met with skepticism by Senator Johnson, and a public already primed to distrust institutions perceived as being less than transparent. The agency's assurances rang hollow, their words failing to quell the growing tide of suspicion that something more nefarious was afoot. Vanished without a trace. The records that disappeared into the digital ether. The CDC Records Mystery, once a whisper in the corridors of power, had now exploded onto the national stage, its tendrils reaching into the living rooms of everyday Americans through the ubiquitous glow of television screens and the relentless churn of the 24-hour news cycle. The missing records, once thought to be the mundane artifacts of bureaucratic processes, were now the subject of intense scrutiny, their absence a lightning rod for anxieties about government overreach and scientific integrity. How could records, particularly records of such significance, simply vanish? In an age of digital backups and cloud storage, the idea that information could be irretrievably lost seemed almost unfathomable, a relic of a bygone era, and yet, here it was, the inexplicable disappearance of critical data, a mystery that seemed ripped from the pages of a techno-thriller. The digital realm, once hailed as the bastion of transparency and accountability, now appeared as a labyrinth of hidden folders and encrypted files, a virtual realm where information could be as easily concealed as it could be shared. The missing records, like ghosts in the machine, haunted the CDC, their absence a constant reminder of the agency's vulnerability in a world increasingly reliant on the vagaries of technology. The mystery deepened as investigators, both within and outside the government, delved into the labyrinthine world of the CDC's digital infrastructure. They scoured servers, analyzed log files, and interviewed technicians, searching for any trace of the missing data, any clue that could shed light on the circumstances surrounding their disappearance. But the records, like whispers fading into silence, remained elusive, their secrets buried beneath layers of code and hidden behind firewalls designed to protect the very information they sought. The price of silence. What's at stake? When vaccine safety data goes missing, the disappearance of Dr. Shimabukuro's records sent a collective shiver down the spines of public health advocates and concerned citizens alike. These weren't just any files gathering dust in a forgotten archive. These were records containing vital information about vaccine safety, the very foundation upon which our nation's immunization programs are built. The stakes, it seemed, couldn't be higher. At the heart of the matter lay a fundamental question. What happens when the data we rely upon to assess the safety and efficacy of vaccines, the very data that informs public health policy and guides individual healthcare decisions, vanishes without a trace? The implications were as unsettling as they were far-reaching. Without access to complete and accurate records, our ability to monitor for potential adverse effects, identify trends, and make informed decisions about vaccine recommendations is severely compromised. It's like navigating a minefield blindfolded, relying on instinct and guesswork, rather than the clear-eyed guidance of empirical evidence. The missing records represented more than just a loss of data. They represented a loss of trust, a crack in the very foundation of our public health infrastructure. When the guardians of our health, the very people entrusted with safeguarding our well-being, are unable or unwilling to provide transparent access to critical information, it erodes public confidence and casts a long shadow of doubt over the entire system. A crisis of trust, eroding public confidence in a time of uncertainty. The CDC Records Mystery unfolded against a backdrop of a world grappling with a crisis of trust. The COVID-19 pandemic, with its conflicting information, left many questioning health officials and those in power. The disappearance of Dr. Shimabukuro's records deepened this unease, eroding public confidence in struggling institutions. The CDC, once the gold standard in public health, now faced vulnerability and potential obfuscation. The public, bombarded with misinformation, struggled to make sense of the situation. Was this bureaucratic incompetence or something more sinister? The CDC's initial silence fueled suspicion. In the absence of transparency, speculation flourished. The public, already grappling with a pandemic, questioned the institutions they once relied upon. The missing records revealed a crack in the CDC's facade, shaking the agency to its core. Dr. Tom Shimabukuro, once a beacon of integrity, now found himself at the epicenter of a storm. The missing records cast a long shadow over his career, raising questions about his role. Was Shimabukuro complicit in the disappearance, or a victim himself? The public scrutinized his every move, searching for clues. The pressure was immense, threatening to crush him. As the investigation dragged on, Shimabukuro's silence spoke volumes. Was he silenced by legal constraints or choosing to remain silent out of guilt? The truth remained elusive, leaving a void of information and a tainted legacy. The CDC Records Mystery became a national obsession, reaching into homes through smartphones and the news cycle. Public opinion, a volatile force, shaped the narrative and influenced the investigation. In the digital age, news travels fast, amplified by social media and online forums. The missing records ignited speculation, becoming a Rorschach test for a nation in crisis. For some, the records were proof of a cover-up. Social media platforms became breeding grounds for outrage and accusations. Others viewed the records as a harmless oversight, urging caution. Their voices were often drowned out by the cacophony of suspicion and distrust. Conspiracy theories flourished in the vacuum of information created by the missing CDC records. The internet, once a democratizing force, became a breeding ground for misinformation. Whisperings of cover-ups and suppressed data echoed through online forums. The missing records were woven into theories casting doubt on vaccine safety and scientific integrity. Fear, uncertainty, and distrust fueled these theories. The pandemic left many feeling vulnerable, their trust in authority shaken. The missing records played into this climate of distrust. Conspiracy theories found a mainstream audience, spreading through the digital landscape. As the CDC Records Mystery dragged on, public outrage and demands for accountability grew louder. The public, tired of evasive answers, demanded the truth about the missing records. Protests erupted with signs demanding transparency and accountability. The media amplified these calls, reflecting the growing urgency. News programs featured interviews dissecting the implications of the missing records. The pressure on the CDC and HHS mounted. The agencies faced a public relations nightmare, their credibility hanging in the balance. The CDC Records Mystery sent ripples of doubt and uncertainty far beyond the investigation. Its implications shook public trust in institutions and scientific integrity. Public health, once rooted in transparency, now grappled with an erosion of trust. The missing records became a symbol of this crisis. The consequences of this erosion of trust are far-reaching. When individuals lose faith in institutions, they become more susceptible to misinformation. Vaccination rates could plummet, leaving communities vulnerable. Decades of progress in public health could be undone. In the aftermath of the CDC Records Mystery, the path forward is fraught with challenges. Restoring public confidence requires transparency, accountability, and scientific integrity. The CDC faces the daunting task of rebuilding its reputation. This requires more than lip service to transparency. It requires a fundamental shift in culture. The investigation into the missing records must be thorough and transparent. The public deserves to know what happened and what steps are being taken to prevent similar incidents. Anything less will deepen distrust. Restoring trust is a shared responsibility. We must demand transparency and hold leaders accountable. Engage in informed dialogue based on evidence, not fear. Only then can we rebuild trust and ensure a resilient public health system. The CDC Records Mystery leaves us grappling with more questions than answers. The missing records remind us of the fragility of trust and the elusive nature of truth. Where are the records? Did they vanish due to a glitch or deliberate deletion? The silence from those in power deepens the mystery. Some questions may never have satisfactory answers. The truth may remain elusive, buried beneath bureaucracy. Trust, once broken, is not easily repaired. The missing records have left a void filled with fear and skepticism. The CDC Records Mystery presents an opportunity to learn from our mistakes. It is a call to action for transparency, accountability, and the pursuit of truth. We must demand more from our institutions, hold them accountable and demand transparency. Scrutinize narratives and challenge assumptions. Cultivate a culture of critical thinking and evidence-based dialogue. Engage with complexity and embrace the scientific method. Public health requires active participation from everyone. Let this mystery serve as a catalyst for a more transparent future. Ensure that transparency and accountability are our guiding principles.